But we're going to move on into our next topic, and we're going to move from the Golden Domers to one of their rivals in the USC Trojans, who are actually going to be playing the Alabama Crimson Tide. See how I tied in all those teams we talked about in the first half right now in week one? And Coach Clay Helton for the USC Trojans, Brandon, has named his starting quarterback. Max Browne, the guy we thought was going to get the nod, does over Sam Darnold. And with you coming into week one, how important is this that they give the nod to Browne 2 weeks before that week one game?
Well, I think it's important whether we're going to go with Browne or whether they were going to go with Darnold. I think that it's important to be able to name your starter so you can go ahead and practice of, okay, this guy's a starter. We know this guy's going to be the one that we're working with. Helps to get a better relationship with your receivers. Helps to just get really a better kind of gel with the entire offense. So I think that's really, really good. Max Browne, in his career, in 2014, he was 3 of 7 for 30 yards. In 2015, he was 8 of 12 for 113 yards. Clearly, he hasn't played a whole lot, but he'll be looking to play a whole lot this season. And one nice thing that Coach Helton has said is that he does not want to go with a kind of platoon or committee look at quarterback. He's picked his quarterback. That's who he's going with.
See, I like that. And the reason why I like that is I'm kind of on the belief that you need to just name your guy and go with him. When you start kind of playing that kind of like footsie, like, oh, I'm going to put my foot in the pool. Oh, it's too cold. I'm going to try to put my other foot in the pool. Then you mess with quarterback confidence. And it's like, if you start Browne, oh, it's not working, we're putting another guy in, it can mess with Browne's confidence. The junior coming in, and really we all thought he was going to be the guy to start anyways, right? He was going to be the guy to take this Trojan team and hopefully with the help of Coach Helton and this new kind of image at Notre Dame, or not Notre Dame, USC, pardon me, bring it back to that kind of, that prominence that we saw when Pete Carroll was there, when they had Matt Leinart, when they had Reggie Bush, when they had Carson Palmer before them.
Yeah, I think that most people thought that Max Browne was going to be the guy to get this job, and I think that most people thought that it was going to be a clean sweep. You know, Browne was going to come right in. You know, he was going to go, you know, it was going to be the offseason. He was going to go get the job. It was going to be simple. But Darnold did a very nice job in camp, and a lot of people were impressed by him, and some people almost to the point where they thought, okay, maybe Darnold is going to get this job over Browne. However, towards the end, Browne had one of his best days in practice, and that I think ultimately is what led to him being able to lock down the starting role. But I think it's good. I really think it's great being able to have a quarterback in place a couple of weeks before your first game instead of going days before saying, all right, you're going to start. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that this is really good job by Coach Helton. I think he's really trying to draw this team back in to kind of those days. I don't want to say it'll ever, and I shouldn't say ever, but, you know, it hasn't been close to the Pete Carroll days in a very long time. It hasn't been close to that feel even around the team. And I think that that's one thing that Helton's trying to do. I think he's trying to make sure that this team is a really tight ship. And I think that he's trying to make really good decisions, not trying to make any rash decisions or go with the popular vote. He's going with the guy who has performed the best. And I think that that's what he's doing right here, going with Browne. I hope that Max Browne performs well. He's got, I think, pretty good talent around him. You know, he's got Juju to throw to, so that's going to be fun and exciting. Always exciting.
Oh, Juju is like the main thing that I'm going to stay up late to watch Trojan games just because of Juju. Just because I can't wait to watch him, and then after we get all of his film from this year, I can't wait to break his film down for draft next season. But like, you got him, Adoree Jackson. They could use him in the receiving game, kind of playing both ways, cornerback, wide receiver as well.
They've got a pretty good team, USC does, and I think that being able to solidify the quarterback a couple of weeks before, going with Max Browne, again, we've been saying it, so you guys know that it's Max Browne out there. I just think that that's a great decision, and I think, again, what I was trying to get to before is that Coach Todd Helton is really trying to bring this team back. And I said Todd Helton, I meant Clay, but Todd is his brother, obviously, played for the Rockies. Everyone knows that, right? No, I misspoke there. It's Clay Helton. But I really think he's trying to... There was so much crap around this team last year. He's just trying to make it a clean season.
It was the crap that you're talking about from last year was just compounded because you say that, oh, well, this team hasn't been back to what they used to be under Pete Carroll, but that's because, and I think USC fans are going to get upset if I don't mention this, so I'm going to go ahead and mention it. It was because of the sanctions you guys had post Pete Carroll. I mean, he gets out of there early, goes to the NFL. I'm going to, got rid of that guy. Didn't have to deal with those sanctions, and Pete did not, but the big one was you guys had the 4-year probation from June of 2010 to June of 2014. And I know you're saying, but Ricky, it's already 2016. Why aren't they back to being the best show in college football yet? Well, you had 4 years basically where other college coaches could go into recruits' houses and say, you don't want to play there, you're not going to the postseason. You don't want to play there, you're not going to do anything.
Do you think that is the biggest thing?
Yeah.
Do you think personally that's the biggest thing without them actually having the full talent and everything that surrounded them in the sense of coaching and all the drama that went there? Because I mean,
it's kind of a double. It's both.
Because I was going to look at the other side. If you just look at the football side without the sanctions and everything like that, I mean, look at a couple of years ago, it was Oregon that was good. I think some teams are getting better in the Pac-12. You know, not a ton, but a couple outside of just USC. Because but before, though, I think you have to admit, and I mean, let me know also if I'm wrong, though, because I could be, but I go back and it was just USC. The Pac-12 was USC football for a very long time. There didn't seem to be a whole lot of other competition. Oh, who's going to the playoffs? It's USC. Oh, who's going from the Pac-12? It's USC. How about this year? It's USC. You know what I mean? Like, it was USC for so long, and then maybe, the sanctions had something to do with it, and I know that you're right, but I think that still, is it only because of that? Is it only because of that?
Well, it's not only, however, it's a big thing, and I am a firm believer that, and I know that Oregon fans, Stanford fans, anybody that's not a USC fan in the Pac-12 is going to get mad at me when I say this, but I am a firm believer of when USC is relevant, that's when the Pac-12, or at the time, the Pac-10 is relevant. Because it's Hollywood. Like, Pete Carroll, the main thing he had that he could use was, you know what? This is Hollywood, baby. You can come and look at that. Snoop Dogg's on the field, and all these guys you get to live the Hollywood life. It's kind of like in that 30 for 30 that they had about USC. Lendell White was even talking about how, you know what? It was one of those things where, I mean, you're getting that you're kind of like pros without being pros. And I'm looking at some of the recruiting classes, like where they ranked between 2010 and between 2014. I'll run you guys through it really quick, and it's going to be interesting to see this. In 2010, June 2010 is when it hit, so it was right before that. They still had a top 3 recruiting class, and I'm getting this from 247 or 247sports.com. They were the 3rd best recruiting class, brought in 23 recruits, 4 of them were 5-star talents. Then if we go ahead just 1 year, let's go ahead to 2011. They stay right pat at number 3 overall. However, of their 29, the more interesting thing to note is that 5-star caliber recruit drops from 3 of them to just 1 of them. And then in 2012, it kind of takes a bigger hit. They go down to 9th overall in the nation. Still, only 1 top 5 recruit. Then if we go further to 2013, they are all the way down at number 13 and have completely fallen out of the top 10. And then finally in 2014, this is when the sanction would have ended. They moved themselves back up to 10, where it's one of those things where, yes, you're in Hollywood. You're still going to be able to bring kids in because of where you are in the world and where you are in the U.S. But when you're dropping down from 3 all the way to outside the top 10 and then getting back up into 10, that's not, I mean, the only reason they were able to kind of stay afloat in the rankings, I just feel where they are. However, you look on the football field and that talent didn't really transfer over. When you've got other teams that are bringing in better recruits and kind of stealing some away from you guys. Plus, it didn't help that, I mean, the whole Steve Sarkisian fiasco that we saw last year didn't really help. You guys, now that the sanctions are over, I believe you guys, we talked about Coach Helton in the past when he got the job full-time as the head coach. I think he's the guy that can help right the ship. Is he the guy that's going to bring them to the big, like where they were with Pete Carroll? He might not be that guy. It may be the next guy. But I believe Helton with Browne can start that kind of wheel turning in the right direction.
And again, you got to remember, in 2010, a 2-year postseason ban came down. They lost 30 scholarships over 3 years. That's huge. In the vacation of all wins, in which Bush participated as an ineligible player, it has been a lot to overcome for USC. It has been a lot. And it has probably felt like an eternity for USC fans. Mm-hmm. But I think now this year, you're right, Ricky. This is and can be, and hopefully will be, the fresh start that they need. And they do need one because of all that. Because of everything that you talked about and went through. Because just this team is too good and has too much good history behind it to live in that crap forever. They need to come out. They need to come out on top. And I personally don't have them winning the Pac-12, but they need to prove me wrong and they need to fly right to the top, because that will help get USC back on the map in a good way, because they've been on the map in a bad way for too long now.
They got a chance to get back to their title game. They just have to. The main hurdle they need to get over is Josh Rosen and those UCLA Bruins. The rival from UCLA is who they got to get over this year.
Yeah, absolutely they do. Absolutely they do. And I think that it's going to be a whole lot different than when USC played UCLA in 2011 and whooped them 50-0.
Yeah, it ain't going to be like that this year.
That game's going to be a whole lot different. There could be 50 points scored by one team, but the other one might score 49.
Yeah, maybe combined this year. But USC fans, Trojan Nation, I want to hear what you guys have to say down below in the comment section, whether you are listening on blogtalkradio.com or are listening to us on our YouTube page.